He is the U.S. Army Garrison Rhineland Falls commander, and he's changing command in just a couple of weeks, 2 weeks to be exact. So he's here to talk about other changes that have already taken place and that will take place. So we've had a great conversation so far. But Colonel, you were telling me how important to you feedback is. So I wanted to ask you, that's a great idea. How should someone go about completing that idea, though? How should they make that into actions?
Well, feedback is extremely important to us. I mean, we are a customer-focused organization as the Garrison, and so we really do need that feedback, both positive and negative. The positive feedback, obviously, is very helpful to us for taking what is being done right and transferring those same best practices to other parts of our organization so that we do it right across the board. And then we need to know when things aren't going right as well. That constructive criticism and how we can improve things so that we can improve the customer service experience for our population out there. But there's multiple ways that people can give us that feedback. The primary way is through ICE, the Interactive Customer Evaluation System. And you can go on to the Garrison website, and down in the bottom there's an area for ICE, and by the commodity area that you had your service experience with, you can then provide feedback. And it's a standardized form that you then fill out, and it automatically goes to that service organization. And that's a very effective way. We look closely at ICE, and we do something that we affectionately call the ICE Chill Board every quarter, where we look in great detail at our ICE feedback and determine where we can do business better. Another great venue for people to give us that feedback is through our social media. Whether they do it through Facebook or Twitter, or other versions of social media. We use social media in the Garrison quite extensively. I know AFN uses it as well, and we are constantly taking feedback from there. And then certainly direct feedback is also appreciated, right there at the service organization or to any of the Garrison leadership directly, and we get that all the time. Feedback that we've gotten from the community is partially responsible for the reason that we're doing this renovation on the Child Development Center at SEMBOC. A lot of great feedback that there's really is a large enough population out there now that needs child care, and that will put a child care facility right there where people work, whereas today people who work at SEMBOC may have to take their child to Kleber, Caserne, or sometimes as far as Misau to that Child Development Center in order to get child care. So all of those types of feedback are very, very important to us. The Sergeant Major Krause, and I, at every newcomer's orientation, like to tell people we've got a thick skin. After doing this for 3 years, we are not afraid of getting constructive criticism, so absolutely give it to us. Having said that, what I think is very remarkable for our footprint is, even though we've gone through, I would say, the most significant change of any of the garrisons here in Europe over the last 3 years, we also have consistently had the highest positive ICE feedback at about a 95% positive rate for our service organizations. So I think that is truly remarkable, with all the closures and changes that we were doing across our footprint, that we actually lead the way in Europe in terms of positive feedback from ICE.
And that is incredible, to hear that feedback and to see that you are actually doing things correctly. So, and that leads back to what you said first of all, which is when you do see the things that you're doing correctly, you can continue to do that and further that positive outcome. Also, another part of feedback, though, is not just making your voice heard, but also making your presence known. And so, I like what you told me earlier, which was vote with your feet. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Yeah, I have kind of coined this term early on, and I'm sure there's a lot of my garrison employees who are tired of hearing me say, vote with your feet. But what I mean by it is, what you participate in, get out of the barracks, get out of family housing or your off-post quarters, and what you go and participate in either as somebody who's using that service or a volunteer supporting that service, that ensures that the demand is there for us to continue to resource it. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. That is the reality of times that are resource constrained. And we saw last year with the potential government shutdown and the furloughs and some of that resources are more constrained than they were in the past. And so it just becomes that much more important that in this resource constrained environment, you go support those facilities, those services that really interest you, and that ensures their continued support and the continued resourcing because we see the demand there. If people don't volunteer to do it, don't participate in it, it becomes a target to get cut in a resource constrained environment.
Absolutely, and it makes so much sense once you think about it. Along with all the positives that social media brings, like we were talking about with the feedback and everything, it also sometimes I feel like has given people the thought that maybe just throwing up a comment on Facebook is going to make a difference. But in reality, you need to be out doing these things. Like you said, you need to be getting involved, and that's what's actually going to make a difference in the long term and even in the short term as well. As like you said, some things are coming up on the chopping block because of the limited resources that we may have in that specific area. So I love that. Vote with your feet. Get out. Be a part of things. Show what you support.
Absolutely. And, I constantly say there's nothing we do in the community that we could do as successfully without our volunteers. So I can't stress enough that part of that voting with your feet is getting out there and volunteering and being passionate about those things that you enjoy doing.
All right, my guest this morning is the commander of the U.S. Army Garrison Rhineland Falls. That is Colonel DeCoster. And Colonel, thank you so much, first of all, for being here this morning, of course, and taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you're changing command in 2 weeks, so we really are sad to see you go. It's been great speaking with you this morning and over the past 3 years as well. So, thank you for being here this morning, but also thank you for for your responsibility and your part in all of these positive changes that we've seen over the last 3 years. We really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for allowing me to team with AFN over the last 3 years. I think, it's been a great relationship between the garrison and AFN. I do want to make sure everybody in the community knows that they're invited to attend our change of command ceremony. It will be in exactly 2 weeks, 2 Wednesdays from today, the 25th of June at 1100. At NCO Field on Dana Caserne. So if you're in disbelief that I'm actually leaving and you want to make sure that I leave, you can come for that reason. Or if you just want to meet the new commander, Colonel Sean Wells, it's a great opportunity for you to see our change of command and meet the new commander.
All right, make sure you don't miss out. Thank you so much, Colonel, for being here this morning. It was great to see you. Have a great morning.
You too. Thank you.
All right, take care.